Everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to name an angle. So let's get started. Okay, so like I've said in other videos, there are so many parts and specific rules to geometry and specific rules to parts of things in geometry that it's really important for you to know. But once you understand those things, it makes everything in geometry a little bit easier to understand. So today I'm going to give you a lot of information that's really easy to understand and master. So let's just jump into it. So the question is asking, use the figure and follow the directions below. And it gives you this handy dandy picture here to help you with the answers. And it says, name the vertex of angle 1, give the sides of the angle GFE, and write two other names for angle 2. And I know the explanation gives you a nice long chunky thing to look at where you guys are just like, oh, I don't want to read this. But it is not so bad as you think it is. So these are the rules of angles per se. So I want you to start over here. So there are specific parts to an angle that I need you guys to know. And once you understand this, it sort of makes sense. So I have an angle, and my angle is over here, and it is sort of looks like two lines, chunk of a line with a middle part. All those parts have names, okay? So if I were to look at this, I would say, okay, well, I have this angle, and I have this part and this part. So I have this dude and this dude. This by itself is called a ray. And this by itself is called a ray. And a ray is, I would call it half of a line because a line goes in two directions forever and ever. But a ray has an endpoint on both of those things. Okay? So this ray has an endpoint and it goes into one direction forever and ever and ever and ever. And this one does the same thing. So when you put them together, you have two rays that have an endpoint where those two things meet, and that is called a vertex. Okay, so over here I have the vertex is the point in the angle, and when I mean the point in the angle, I mean, we highlight for you in green, this dude right here, where those two rays meet, that is the vertex. Okay. And I also put, it says a point and two rays. So I have my point and two rays make an angle. Okay. That's something that's really important for you guys to know, because you're going to be like, what's a vertex? I don't know what that is. That is really important to know when you get into questions that ask you about the vertex and the rays and all that good stuff. So, knowing that, we're going to jump in to this question. So when you look at this diagram that it gives you, it says, well, the first question says, name the vertex of angle 1. Now, again, we just talked about what a vertex was. That's the point of the angle. So when we go into this, we look at angle 1. Okay. So when you look at angle 1, I want you to literally look for the number 1 and then find the angle in there. Okay. So the vertex of that angle is what? It is F, because my vertex is right here and it names that point. So the vertex of angle 1, that is point F. And for a point, you can just put F. Okay. So for the second one, it says name the sides of GFE. So when you look at an angle, it's going to tell you a specific way to look at it. So actually, I'm going to just jump over here to the rules of naming angles. So when it tells you to look at something on a diagram talking about this, it's going to give you something in a very, very specific order. So it says GFE, right? over here it says the rules of naming angles, and this is really, 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 really important. It's going to give you the angle symbol, and you say angle when you describe it. That just little less than symbol means angle, and I know it gets confusing because some people are like, less than what? It's an angle in this case. So you're gonna have point, vertex, point. Again, we talked about the vertex is the point in where those two rays meet. Okay, so when you look at it, it tells you the point G, which is here, the vertex F, which is there, and then the point E, which is there. So when you look at where those things are, it goes in that order, G, F, E. Okay, and now when you do that, it doesn't matter which one is which, but it really is important that you make sure that you put the vertex in the middle, because if not, it's going to make no sense when you get into more complex questions. So it says name the sides of GFE. So I'm going to erase this real quick. So now that we know what we're looking at, it says name the sides of GFE. So G is here, right? So I have G, F, E, that angle. So for this question, it's put points here because a lot of times you're not going to see a point on your angle. They're just going to name it. So this right here is a line segment, right? So that is technically a side. So because of that, I have the side G, F, and I think it may give you the option to put this line there. If it does, use it. That just means the line GF or the side GF. You would just put that segment of a line. You put that line on top of it. It does not. I know that looks just like the repeating line, but in the case of geometry with its very, very specific rules, that means the line. Okay. And then you look at the other side, and it says, so you have this dude right here, and you have this one over here. That is FE. Okay, so these two lines together make up that angle. Okay. Okay, so this last question it tells you to do is to write two other names for the angle 2. And you're like, how do I write two names for this? So I have angle 2, right? It's right there. So like we said before, the rules of naming angles. If it has a number, you can call it by its number, right? So we already know that that has the name of the angle 2 because it's numbered angle 2. But if you have the rules of naming angles, you have point, vertex, and point, right? So if I say, okay, well, the vertex is F, so I know I have to put the F in the middle, right? And I put my angle thing. Make sure you put the name angle, that angle thing there in the front. And it says, okay, well, I have E, and then I have my vertex F, and then I have H. Because I have, like I said here, point, vertex, point. So I have point E, vertex F, and then point H. Okay. Now, it says two other names. And you're like, well, there's only 3 points. How am I supposed to do that? Well, reverse it. It doesn't matter which order you go in as long as the F, the vertex, is in the middle. So I'm going to put my vertex in the middle and I say, well, I'll reverse it. H, F, E. So it follows that thing again. It says point right here, vertex F, and then point E. Okay. Now, I know that's a lot, but the answer is very, very simple. As long as you know the rules of naming angles and what a vertex is, this question is going to be very, very easy. Because this part is sort of a given. But as long as you know those things, you guys should be fine. I know that was a lot of information, but the question itself is not that difficult. So if you guys would like to see another question, just like this one, let me know and I'll make a video.